Mic check 1 2, it's the Y2K Collector. I'm just trying to clean up from some of these collection videos I did earlier today. And it's funny because I often say that I don't have a large collection, and I'll get a comment from from a subscriber or someone who will say, "Bro, what do you mean you have a huge collection?" And I guess, like, if you're a person who doesn't collect video games at all, or if you're new to the game collecting hobby, it might look like I have a really large collection, but I guarantee you, if you just kind of just run a quick search on YouTube, you'll quickly see that my collection really pales in comparison to some of the other collections out there. But I did want to just make a quick video just to kind of help some of those folks who might be new to the hobby, who might be interested in starting a collection. Maybe you've wanted to add some games, build a collection, but you just haven't really had the chance to get started yet. Just gonna give you a couple pieces of advice. The first piece of advice that I would give to anyone that's like starting a collection now would be to, one, start with a system that no one is paying attention to. Look for the systems, look for the consoles that no one cares about right now, and start building your collection off of that, right? But you don't just want to pick a console that no one's paying attention to. You want to start off with what you like, right? So me, I love a lot of 2D sprite based games. That's why I have a decent sized collection of that stuff, but it's very focused. I would not start with the Super Nintendo right now, because I feel like Super Nintendo games, they're starting to go back up again. Like, I feel like the prices for Super Nintendo games are going up. At least from what I've seen, I'm seeing games, like, I'm looking to add certain games to my collection that like a year ago were cheaper, and I thought that prices were going down, but they're still slowly creeping up. So if you wanted to start off with like cartridge based games, I recommend the NES. You have a stack of games here where now one of these games goes for more than 15 bucks. All of these games are $15 and under. So if you want to start, I would say start with the SNES. That would be, sorry, not the SNES, but the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, the original. I would start here because you can get a lot of quality games at a really good price. I do not recommend you starting with like the N64 or the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis, just because those are more of the expensive systems and those games are going to be more pricey. Another system that I would definitely recommend you look to start with would be the PlayStation 3. Now, don't use these games as a reference because these are more of the expensive PlayStation 3 games, but you've definitely got some cheaper ones down here. So these games are like $20 games, well, minus the Spider-Man games, so disregard those. But you've got a lot of $15 and $20 games in here that are really good value. And then down here, you've got even more. Like the Uncharted series, you can get this Uncharted dual pack for like $5. Darksiders, $5. A lot of these Ninja Gaiden and Transformers games, Bayonetta games, these are like $5 games. So these are games that you can definitely get and add and start a collection if you're wanting to get into the hobby. That's also a really good place to start. Another good place, if you don't care or if you don't mind, is the Xbox. Probably not the Xbox 360, because for whatever reason those games are going through the roof right now. But Xbox One would definitely be a good place to start, because I don't think anyone's really hunting down Xbox One games like that. So you'd be able to get a really good deal on some Xbox One games, and I think that too is a really good place to start. What else? Another place that I think is really good, you'll get a lot of bang for your buck, to be honest with you, is the PS4. The PS4 is going down in value, in my opinion, right now. No one, from what I'm seeing, is really looking to buy a bunch of PlayStation 4 games and add them to their collection. And I'm seeing a lot of people actually trade their PlayStation 4 collections in and get rid of a lot of their PS4 stuff. So in my opinion, the PlayStation 4 is a great place to start looking at building more of like a modern collection. That's just me. If you're trying to add like more modern games to your collection, that would be a good place to start as well, just because you can get a lot of decent stuff at a decent price on the PlayStation 4. If you're thinking about going handheld mode and you're wanting to go back to like retro stuff, I think the Vita is a good place to go to. The Vita is also one of those systems that that's going down in price. Even the console, I remember, you know, getting a Vita was pretty expensive like 2 years ago. So I'll give you an example. Like a Vita like this, I think this was the last generation, was going for like $180 a couple years ago, and now you can get a Vita like this for probably $100, if not less. Sony, there's rumors that Sony is going to be coming out with a new handheld. This is Sony's second generation of handhelds. Their first generation was the PSP, then they came out with the PS Vita. They've recently come out with the PlayStation Portal, but I think that their next step is going to be to come out with another like handheld console like the Vita that probably plays its own games. I don't know if it will have interchangeable cartridges or if it'll just be something like a Steam Deck and everything will be like download only, but I know that they're coming out with another device. So, but I think like PSP is a good place to go. PS Vita is a good place to go. I feel like all things Nintendo are just gonna stay expensive for a while. So when you look at things like Game Boy Advance games, Nintendo DS games, 3DS games, you're gonna be looking at spending some money because things that are Nintendo are just expensive. So I would kind of stay away from the Nintendo stuff if you can. But if you're like a big Nintendo fanatic and you gotta have Nintendo stuff, in my opinion, the Wii is a good place. The Wii U is a good place. It just really, though, more than anything else, it really just depends on what you're into. Like, as someone who's trying to get into the hobby, you really need to know what types of games you like, what type of games you're into, what your budget is, and then build off of that and go from there. Try not to buy everything, and definitely do not try to mirror what you see on YouTube. Not even on my channel. You know, I have people who follow my channel and they're like, dude, you know, I really like your collection. You've got cool stuff. That's cool. But I've been collecting this stuff for years. And you know, I don't even collect like that anymore. Like I'm not out like spending and getting games like all the time. My game pickups have picked up recently, but there was a point where I hadn't picked anything up in like months. You know what I mean? So, and on top of that, I'm very peculiar about the games that I pick up, the condition I pick them up in, things of that nature, because I'm always, even though I'm buying what I like, I'm always thinking about what if I want to sell, will I have a hard time selling? And you also want to think about that too, because if there comes a day where you want to get out of the hobby, if everything that you bought was just a bunch of stuff that no one else wants, or if you just bought a bunch of stuff because it was cheap, but it was in terrible condition, the label was all torn to shreds, it just wasn't a good condition game, you're going to have either A, have a really hard time selling it, or B, you're going to have to sell it at a discount because no one's going to pay for it. So just try to be smart about your purchases. Think about the gaming genres that you're into, and then when you're ready to start collecting, try to see where you can get the best bang for your buck. That would be my advice. I know it's simple, it's nothing complicated, it's, you know, it's nothing elaborate, but these are just some common sense ways to start a collection. Hopefully this helped you. It's the Y2K Collector. I'm going to finish cleaning up this room here. You all have a great afternoon.